Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 168. Today we are talking to Kyle Gibb, a mentoring student of ours who's had a interesting, fabulous and challenging but rewarding and financial gain on his property journey. So jump on into this episode where you'll hear about Kyle's story, what he's done, where he's headed and how it's made him grow. I think you're going to find this episode all about that. So let's jump on into episode 168. Hello and welcome to episode 168. Hey Bob.
G'day, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm going good. We've got to sit close today because we've got Kyle, one of our mentoring students. Once a mentoring student, always a mentoring student when it comes to Property Mastermind. So welcome, Kyle Gibb. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. And you're always learning.
Yeah, for sure. Us too. Things are evolving and changing and we keep up with it. But anyway, we're going to give away our copy of Property Millionaires Exposed. And this week, the copy of Millionaires Exposed goes to Adam Johansson. Adam, book's in the post to you. I know you're going to love it. Head on over to page 160. We were always saying 161, but we got it wrong. Alrighty, before we kick into today's episode, Bob, what's your tip for the week?
Oh, well, I think it relates to you. When you go to Melbourne and they're predicting a top of 12 and you arrive and it's 8 and you've come from Queensland, take some warm clothes with you.
Exactly. So the story behind that is I went to a meeting yesterday down and back in a day. So it was a bit of a 3 a.m. kickoff and I went down to an event that I wanted to go to and down and it was freezing. You've got to remember we live in Queensland, nice and warm. We've even had summer weather and I went down there. I thought warm clothes, but I was absolutely frozen all day and flew back. When I got on the plane, my feet were actually numb. It was horrific. Anyway, yes.
We do love Melbourne.
Oh, yeah, cool spot.
But the weather can be cruel if you're not prepared.
Cool spot, operative word. Anyway, let's kick into chatting with Kyle. Do you want to kick off, Bob? What's your first question?
Oh, okay. Well, let's take it right back to the beginning. Why did you get involved in property development in the first place?
Oh, look, it was purely an accident. We had intended to do property investing and we were saving up to get our original primary place of residence. And the mother-in-law jumped in and said, why don't we buy a block together and build a large duplex? So we did that. And council said, no, you can't build that. So we had to revisit it. And our town planner said, why don't you subdivide it? And I went, oh, God, I better get educated.
Not just into a duplex, like a 2-lot subdivision though, hey?
Well, first of all, let's unpack dealing with your mother-in-law. How cool is
that,
Kyle?
mother-in-law.
Yeah, the mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law.
But so was she always interested in property, Kyle, or was that led by you? How did that conversation even start?
Well, it was just a sense of good timing. She just sold a block in Brisbane and was looking to relocate further out of the city. And we were looking at the same time. So we decided to join forces. She was never really into property. She always wanted a PPR of her own, which is what she'd been doing all of her life. But as far as using property to get ahead, that was never in her scope.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how did the conversation kick off? Whose ideas? Who said it first?
Yeah.
Well, actually, she approached us and said, where do I buy? What do I buy? And we sat together and realised we had a lot greater power to buy together than we did alone. And so we decided to start looking together and we went through many, many, many properties before we found the one we liked. And it just so happened that it was a stone's throw from where we were already living.
All right. So this is a house on a reasonable sized block of land, which you thought, oh, that's good. We can now put a second dwelling on it or whatever. And went to the council and found out they want a lot more out of you than that.
Yeah. They weren't happy with the proposal we put forward to put a duplex on it. And
the underutilisation of a site.
That's it. They already had an existing, and they said if we wanted to put the duplex on, we'd have to demolish the existing, or we'd have to bring sewage from the park up to the property, because they wanted the infrastructure spend in the area.
Oh my gosh.
This is a case of the council initially looking to be obstructive. But it's probably one of the best things that ever happened Hey to Kyle.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, Kyle, that the council decided that they wanted you to put more on. They weren't happy with just the duplex, which, by the way, is a good idea because you've got Nana living next door, because you've got a few kids, so it's really handy. We've got Nana living next door. And then they said no. So what was your initial response, and then how did you bring that up with your mother-in-law?
Oh, look, I was terrified to bring it up with her, to tell her this plan we'd sold her on wasn't going ahead was a nightmare. And we took a bit of a time off and discussed what our options were and came back to the table several times, and she said, look, if you want to do this, I'm on board. Let's get it done. Let's do it right.
That's the sort of mother-in-law you want.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
No complaints from my side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. A bit of an almost terrifying experience, I suppose. All of a sudden you're thrown in the deep end and you realise, well, I'm now going to have to become a serious property developer and wrestle this thing. So good on you.
Yeah, and I knew straight away I needed education. I couldn't have done it without education. Having spent a decade long in aviation, I went and got all the education, then jumped into the career and realised I knew nothing. And I didn't want the same thing happen here.
No. Property development's a bit different from helicopters.
Totally different.
Hasn't got much in common.
So the council said, no, we won't allow that. Was it at that point, what they just said they wanted more. What did you go and do then?
We did a bit of research in what was happening in the area and what we could fit on the site and how it would be structured and stuff like that. And we came to them with a basic plan, sort of a pre-development application. And they gave us a bit of feedback on that. And we sort of honed our design from there.
Okay.
Had you already spoken with us by then, or you were still travelling solo, like solo cowboy?
By the time we had the interview with them, we had spoken to you guys. However, the interview was lined up before we actually found you guys.
I remember that first conversation with Kyle that day when he was sort of... I mean, we didn't know each other, and you're sort of checking us out. These guys, sort of the real deal, and you really you didn't have much choice, really, did you? I mean, you could have either sold it or go ahead. And I know you were feeling a little bit nervous about the future, so that was. I often think that when I see what you're like now. And I go back and think, well, that first conversation, what it was like, and just, geez, how far you come. Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, watching you, Kyle, your confidence just grew so much. And we'll get to what it's meant for the rest of your life because it's such a cool story. Bob and I were speaking about it this morning. I thought it's just awesome because it's actually flowed out to so many other areas of your life and your future, how you've created your life to be already and then what you intend to do next, which is so exciting. So then you've come on board with us with the mentoring. You've got Bob holding your hand and you're getting underway. And then we had that kind of, had a bit of COVID, eh?
Oh, that back end, which happened to a lot of people.
Me included.
Yeah, Kyle was just dragged into that net, I guess. We ourselves had large delays with civil engineers and designs and all that sort of thing. You weren't spared that either?
No, the C word was a very scary word. Work wound down, we weren't doing as many hours, everything slowed down, everyone suffered through it. But rising markets lift all ships.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
And you know about ships rising. So once again, like Kyle, I don't know whether you took on the name or we took it on, the accidental developer, because you became one by accident, really, or by necessity. But then, like, you've had a good run too, because you bought a block that you're going to put a duplex on, and next thing you're looking at potentially 12 lots, and then you got slowed down a lot, but then properties went up. It's like there's some master plan going on there in the background that you scratch your head about what's going on here. But look, you take it when you find it, luck, hey, I reckon that's good. But a lot of good hard work too.
Yeah, and knowing what you're doing. Talk us through how you went from 12 to where you are now.
Oh, so the original design had a lot of corner shapes and stuff like that on the boundaries of lots to make them as large as possible. We wanted to get every lot to be as big as possible. And the design had a very decent amount of continuity in size. But council didn't like the moving boundaries. They wanted straight lines and stuff like that. So when we came back to them, we ended up making one of them a battle axe, got a lot of straight lines out of it, and we got an extra one because of that. And so that was a bonus. We didn't mind that.
So from 12 to 13, you're excited. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, a little bit of cream on top.
Yeah.
Council's now done 2 favours.
Yeah, so that's 2 favours. But there's another favour yet, isn't there? Then what happened?
Yeah, so our engineers that were designing it didn't like the amount of water that was on the land and wanted to put a retention and biobasin at the bottom of the block, which was going to take up about 700 square metres. And we thought that there was some precedent for going around that, but we weren't sure. When another development just up the road did a modelling which had onflow to that street, showed that there was a potential for us to get that, we went and got flood modelling for our block and proved that we could remove the detention basin and just make it a biobasin, and we squeezed in the extra.
Wow.
So now you're sitting at 14. You started off with a duplex, now you got a 14 lot subdivision.
It's gone from a duplex to a 12 lot to a 13 lot to a 14 lot subdivision.
Yeah.
Best 30,000 I'd ever spent was that flood modelling report.
Yeah, that's paid for itself many times over.
Did you question whether you would spend that, Kyle, or was it just a no-brainer? Like, what made you put and decide to spend the 30 on the flood modelling report?
Well, that's just it. We weren't going to spend it until we saw that someone else had already done one and proved on their lot that it had worked, and their lot had flow onto our lot, which suggested that there was precedence for it. At that point, we were like, it's worth the spend.
Yeah, it's pretty, almost a sure bet.
Yeah.
Did it feel like a gamble at all, though? Or you thought, no, this is going to work, we'll get this?
After I'd spent the money, it felt like a gamble.
Flipping the coin.
Yeah.
Yes, once you place that bet, you can't go backwards. The bookies won't underwrite it for you. But anyway, there again, another win. Hey, 14 lots, which is tremendous. And we did talk about, during this period of time, although there were delays, the market was on the move in the right direction. Tell us about that.
It was. Well, originally, each of the lots were planned to sell at around 250,000. Now they're all selling over 400.
Kyle, the accidental developer, becomes Kyle, the accidental millionaire.
Not complaining.
On his way to a billionaire, I would say.
Oh my gosh, that is just fantastic, isn't it? Sometimes you're angry about something or frustrated and it turns out to be the best thing ever.
I know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Have you redone your FISO and looked at your numbers? You do that every morning? I'll just check my numbers.
Yeah, updated daily.
Yeah.
I at least do it monthly, and sometimes I do it weekly.
Yeah, just to double check that you've got it right. Yeah, that's cool.
Bet the relationship with the mother-in-law has gotten even better when she looks at the feasibility and thinks, wow, this is great, and I've been a part of it. Like you're both elevating your family in terms of your wealth. That's tremendous.
Oh, look, it certainly has. She's been very anxious to get the project done, but the outcome has been tremendous for her. Essentially, I'm playing with her retirement money, which is terrifying for me, but yeah, it couldn't be better.
No. And so exactly where is that up to at the moment?
So we're expecting to break ground either at the end of the month or within the first week of the next month. So we're getting our QS report come through now. So that'll arrive on Monday, and then we'll get the lending, and we'll get a pre-start meeting with council and kick off.
You've lined your finance up, you've lined your civil contractor up, I gather. Everything's ready, rock and roll. And with a bit of luck, they'll be 450,000. No, you've locked them out, haven't you? You've done a pre-sales. Tell us about that.
Let's talk about the pre-sales.
You've totally de-risked your project. You're telling me you're nervous.
Yeah.
And he's totally de-risked it. What's he doing?
Yeah, look, to secure the mother-in-law's position, I wanted as much of it as possible sold. That way, she was guaranteed her position, and it couldn't go sideways from there. And when we started selling them, we did a coming soon for about a month, and then they were on the market for a month before all of them were under contract. So they really went quick. 3 of those contracts did fall over, and we put them back on the market, and we got contract offers that were higher than what they were under contract for.
There you go.
Fantastic, Kyle. That's just so good to hear. Young family. So you've got, how many children do you have? 2?
I got 2. I got a 17-year-old and a 5-year-old.
You only look 17, but that's okay.
He does, hey?
It happens. I think as you get older, everyone
He's going to
looks
get younger. The more and more money he makes,
he'll just look younger and younger.
Younger.
Yeah.
Didn't work for me, but, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's going on with us? So, Kyle, what's been for you apart from the fabulous win financially, the knowing that you're helping your mother-in-law, knowing you're helping your family. So you started out at working with helicopters. Tell us about that, the confidence that you've grown and what it's meant that you're doing now and how you're living your life, which I just love. The transition over to what you do now, which is so cool.
Yeah, look, in the aviation industry, which was my career for over a decade, it took a lot from you. You could rock up to work one morning and they'd hand you a plane ticket and say, today you're going to Perth. And you'd get back 5 weeks later. And it was stuff like that was just taking too much time from the family. I had to do something else. And we planned to go down the road of property investing, when we discovered property development, I guess. Once that ball was rolling, I wanted a bit more time for my family. So I decided to open a lawn mowing business, leave the aviation industry, and just do the lawn mowing as bread and butter for the family. And that way I could focus the rest of my time on this and my family.
And now what's your time allocation, which I only found out about last week, which is fantastic.
So I've moved all of my clients into 1 week. So during the winter it can be as little as 3 days a fortnight. In summer, it can be as many as 7 days a fortnight, but the other week is entirely mine.
Yeah.
Transition to 1 week on, 1 week off, still whilst living at home and property developing on the side. How good is that?
There's an old saying, living the life of Riley.
Yeah.
This is living the life of Kyle, I think. Yes. I'm going to rename it.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's just so
but that's
good.
Tremendous, isn't it? Like, yeah. I mean, the money's fantastic, but lifestyle, you've got to live, you know.
And you make your own luck, Kyle. You chose to leave it. You chose to move forward and make things happen. And some people watch things happen, and some people make things happen. And you're making stuff happen. How's it meant or gone for you? As a person, what's changed for you?
Oh, look, I've had to do a lot of growing. There's a lot of lack of self-confidence that I have, from imposter syndrome to all sorts of complications there, and if you get your head around it and you get around other people that are doing it, you realise everyone's just like you. And anyone can do it if you put the time and effort. Yeah.
And what I admire about you is I know you were very nervous, particularly earlier. I mean, your confidence built a lot. But to overcome that, a lot of people won't. They would have just, it's all too much for me, I'll walk away. But you didn't, and you persevered and you grew, and now you're reaping the benefits of all of that, and that's tremendous, and you deserve it. But that's not the end of the story, I know. Kyle will be around for a while yet.
So how long until we see the next project underway, Kyle? What's the plan for the future?
Kyle's master plan.
Yeah, what is the big plan? If we stand
if you don't mind sharing it with the rest of Australia.
Helicopter view for Kyle Gibb, the accidental developer.
Yeah, look, it's definitely in the works. Once this project is all done and dusted, and we've built on 2 of the blocks and we've moved in, we're going to draw out as much equity as we can from the one we're in, and we're going to use that equity to start the next project. The hope is that we can get an equity release by the time that project gets to the same stage we're at now, with this one, and start a second one, and get a pipeline of them coming through. Once we've got that pipeline, I can get rid of the mowing business and just be full-time in property development. And within 3 or 4 projects, I'll be able to buy my own block, move out of this one, make it a rental, and essentially retire.
And is the mother-in-law part of that future plan, or is she just happy now to kick back and know that she's been a help to the family and done her bit?
No, she's happy to retire as it is. She's already hit retirement, so she's stopped working, and so she's winding things down. She has said, however, that she would put some equity towards it, one of the projects in the future, to help her other daughter get a block.
Oh, that's good.
Wow, so you're helping everybody, Kyle. Hey, just going back, so how many of the blocks have you kept? I know there's your one, so you're keeping 2 more to develop on? You're going to do the
Build.
full construction?
Yeah, so we're keeping 2 to build on. One of them's a $400 build, the other's a 5+ build. And we are keeping the existing dwelling block, but that one's temporary. So we'll keep it at least for 6 months, and then we'll either renovate it and sell it, or sell it to someone to do a renovate and flip.
Oh gosh, don't say that on here. You'll be like stalked down. Even I'm thinking, Connie will be listening. She'll be calling you up before you know it. She'll be like, oh, Reno, I'm there. She'll be up from Victoria and you're knocking on your door. Even then I'm thinking, oh, Reno, that sounds like fun.
Connie would add another story to it. And
She'd subdivide somehow. Gosh, goodness knows what she'd get up to. Yeah.
Stick to Victoria, Connie.
Yeah, you can stay down there. That's great to hear that you've got sort of a master plan, and you said $400, you mean 400,000 and a 500,000. What's the difference between those two, the two constructions there?
One of them's 2-story. Now we're thinking it'll push closer to 600, but we're trying to keep that cost low.
Yeah, wow. It's all happening for Kyle.
It certainly is. So you've got your big picture. So what would be, if you looked back now at how your life's gone, would you have done any of this earlier, or it's all just mapped out how you wanted to, or would you have changed? Would there be anything you change?
The only thing I'd really change is I'd probably be more selective with the consultants I use. I'd focus more on when they can deliver and what they're delivering, rather than the price that they had on the project, and who was available to start right away. So if someone wasn't able to start for a couple of months but were able to deliver faster, we'd probably go with them, rather than someone who could start right away but wouldn't be able to deliver for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good point. We always say how important the team is, and look, teams are critical, but you learn as well. Hey, you learn I still make the occasional mistake with a team member, but it's good once you get somebody reliable and you can run with them. Teams are important. What else?
And I suppose the other thing I'd ask, Kyle, is so you'd spend a bit more time with the team. What would be, now that you've done this, what do you need to tell the future Kyle? You know, when you step into him or who you're becoming, what do you need to remind yourself of from this growth journey, or from everything you've learned, you know, through being a mentoring student with us at Property Mastermind, or even just, you know, being part of our community, because you are a huge part of our community. You're always on the live Q&As. You're always there.
Everybody knows the accidental developer.
Yeah. So what does that future Kyle need to be reminded? Because it's so easy for us as human beings to slip back into doing what we used to do, to remind ourselves that we used to be nervous, to be uncomfortable. So what's the strategy for you to remind you to just keep stepping up and moving forward?
If I keep getting around people, then I'm going to keep along those lines of remembering where I came from. I know I'm going to keep focused on the big picture, and there's plenty of big picture stuff that me and my wife would like to do if we had all the money in the world. But I've got to remember where I started from, and that there are other people starting there today, tomorrow, and next year. And I could be there to support them on that journey, even if it's to give advice on who to talk to. And get some proper advice from either you guys or from a town planner, or, you know, the advice that I really needed back when I started with Bob.
He's a giver, Kyle.
Yeah, definitely a giver.
And Kyle, you love people around you, I know. And that's great. That's why, you know, Kyle's always there flying the flag, hey?
Yeah, always flying the flag.
When we have an event.
Yes. Yeah, he's always there flying that flag.
See, there's no one in my life, my family group, my friends group, that are into property like I am. The most is 1 or 2 people have a primary place of residence, and that's it. So if I don't get around the people that are into property, then I could lose focus or hyper-focus in one area and lose sight of the bigger picture. So it's important to be around all those people and immerse myself in that.
Interesting, before, I don't know whether it was before we started recording or during, you said the rising tide lifts all the boats. Mm-hmm. That same thing applies to the people we hang around with. So when we spend a lot of time with people who are thinking about property but never doing it, like if you're always the leader, you need to be around people who think bigger than you and do bigger than you, because that's the only way you will elevate your mindset. So it's all good and well, and I love the idea of networking with people, but I think people forget that you have to be around the people that are doing the bigger stuff, because your picture will just stay small if you always are are just around people thinking about it. You've got to be around people that are actually doing it and will make you go, well, that's just normal behaviour, not like you're the leader in the front. That's got to be the normal, and that's how that rising tide will lift your boat, you know. Yeah. I think that's something that people do forget. It's like, I want to join a community, but often people join a community where there's not much happening.
And they might be attracted to people in similar to their situation because they feel comfortable there.
Yes, definitely. And that was the whole reason I flew to Melbourne yesterday, to be around people that will elevate me and push me to be better at what I do. And it was like, got on a plane, flew there, had a meeting all day, got on a plane, flew home, got 3 a.m. till 11 p.m. That was my day. But that's to be around those people. And I think that that's a really great message, you know, that you're talking about, staying around people who are doing it, because you are really consistent with that, and that will make all the difference.
You've got to remember there's always bigger ships at sea. And there might be a bunch of smaller ones around you as well. Maybe someone floating in a dinghy and whatnot. We're all in that together.
Yeah.
Yep. The property development sea.
The sea of property development. Well, Kyle, you know, you've had such an inspiring journey, and Bob and I always, you know,
we get so excited. We talk about, you know,
everyone.
Obviously a lot of people in our program, but I always get a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about Kyle, because I remember our first phone call, and I see you now, and I think, wow, yeah,
you've come a long way, and you're just such a smiling face in the community. You're always there. You're sort of the unassuming developer as well. You're the accidental unassuming developer that people would have no idea that you've changed your life. You've changed the life of your family. Now you're going to be changing the life for your sister-in-law. It's just incredible what you're doing, and you just, you know, quit the big job, started mowing lawns. Doing a property development, you know, just on the go. What would you like to tell people that are thinking about property development and perhaps maybe they're a bit like you? What would be your message to people?
Okay, there is 3 types of knowledge. There's what you know, what you don't know, and what you don't know. With what you don't know that you don't know to ask. You haven't got a clue what the questions are. And you won't until you discover it. If you go out and you get yourself educated, then you'll know those questions to ask, and you'll know what's in front of you. Instead of working with a torch, you're working with a big set of spotlights, lighting up the whole road in front of you.
Kyle's great with analogies.
Oh, what a great analogy. Yeah, I've never heard that one. Yeah, perfect.
Maybe it's all the podcasts he listens to. He's an absolute podcast demon, aren't you? We know that.
He's like me, listens on 2.0.
Not just ours, about 100 others, which is great.
Yeah.
Expanding your mind.
So great advice. You have to know what you don't know. Yeah.
And you take that next step. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Bob, any parting words from you?
No, other than that, like, Kyle doesn't need to hear from me, but I'm just so proud of, you know, what you've done for yourself, for your family.
I couldn't have done it without you, Bob.
It's always nice to hear.
Both of us. Yeah. Me on the technical side and Hilary on all that important stuff that she does. But anyway, that's not really what the podcast is about. I'm just keen to, you know, watch Kyle in the future.
Yeah.
You know, where he's going. I know where he's going. It's going to be an exciting journey for yourself, but great to watch.
It will be great to watch. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us, and I think this just shows people that there's so many everyday people doing extraordinary things, and, you know, why not you? That's what I always say when it comes to property development. Why not you? So thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope you got something out of this episode and you feel a little bit inspired. If you're interested in coming along to our workshop on the 11th, 12th and 13th of October, please give me a ring or jump on our website and buy yourself a ticket. It will be well worth coming, and Kyle will be there.
I will.
Kyle.
Yeah, come and meet Kyle at the workshop.
Forget about what you're going to learn. It's worth it just to come and meet Kyle.
And plenty of other people that are, like I said, are doing property development. So we have a very active community. But we will look forward to catching up with you next week. Bye for now.
Bye now.